Before meeting with Mr. Zhang, our ideas consisted of using plants for food, oxygen, and water, using urine and sweat filters to produce water, and using our feces as soil for the plants. We were also going to put the astronauts in periodic comas, so it would lessen the amount of food, oxygen, and water that they would need.
Because we did not have any valuable information on the periodic comas, we decided that it was not worth it to include them in our mission to Mars. We could not find any scientific papers on how the periodic comas would reduce oxygen, food, or water intake, and we could not find a safe way to put humans under comas if they were not actually hurt. For this reason, we decided that it wasn't really worth it to try to put the astronauts under a coma. One main idea that needed to be modified was our plants idea, because although we did know that we wanted to include plants in our mission, we weren't exactly sure how we were going to do it. To grow plants in space, there was one main contributor to plant growth that is lost. This contributor was gravity. Without the gravity in space, it was very difficult to come up with a centripetal force so that the plants could grow. In order to simulate this factor, we decided to create a contraption where we would use aeroponics, a use of plant growth, and spin the board that holds the plants so that a sense of gravity could be created. We would need energy to do this and to create a source of light. This energy would be gained from solar energy and, if needed, nuclear energy. We also added many backup plans, as NASA requires backup plans if your first plan doesn't go as well as it should.
Alright, let's talk about food. You need to give the astronauts food to survive. We plan to dehydrate food such that we'll give them about a 3 to 4 month supply of food on the shuttle. But we also plan to grow plants. And our method is by using aeroponics and spinning some of the plants to allow them to germinate. We will have 2 boards. One board will have plants that, will have seeds that are full of moisture and are ready to germinate, while the other board would have plants that have already germinated and can simply grow. Now the first board has to be spun because plants, they need to know which direction gravity is pulling at them so that they can grow roots in that direction and stems and leaves in the other direction. So by spinning this board, we create a centripetal force, and this force can trick the plants into thinking that there's a gravitational pull and their roots will grow in that direction. Now, through this system of using 2 boards, one that is spinning to germinate and one that is already just growing, you have a set of plants that can already be harvested and eaten, while you have another set of plants that are just starting. Now, if worse comes to worse, the astronauts can use their own feces to create food. We will provide this on the shuttle, but it's not exactly the most accepting idea because although your feces do have protein and carbohydrate that is beneficiary to your body, it is your feces. But those are some of the ways that we decided that the astronauts can get food.
So oxygen is obviously a main issue for astronauts because there isn't a supply of oxygen in space. Therefore, we're going to use plants to produce the oxygen, which is also going to be a main supply of our food and water. But another idea, another backup plan, is that we're going to have an initial supply of oxygen in oxygen tanks, say around 4 to 5 months, which is what the Mission to Mars website did, but they had it for the whole flight. So with the oxygen tanks and the rate of photosynthesis that the plants will have, it'll ensure that the astronauts have enough oxygen to survive on the trip there and back from Mars.
The main source of energy will be used through solar panels on the outside of the spacecraft. However, solar panels are quite unpredictable and cannot be relied on entirely. For this reason, we will have a backup source of energy, nuclear energy. The nuclear energy can be created by the natural decay of plutonium, which gives off heat. Where sunlight is not available, this natural decay will provide the spacecraft with enough energy to run itself.
Alright, so let's talk about water. Astronauts need water to survive, so we plan to give them water tanks, which will supply them for about 3 to 4 months. But we also plan to use their urine and sweat to be filtered out to give them water to drink. Urine actually produces 93% of water, and water that is created from the filtration of urine and sweat is a lot cleaner than you think. We also plan to use a dehumidifier, which would take the water vapor that is released from plants through transpiration and condense it and create water droplets for the astronauts to drink, as well as for the plants to use.